Hello again, Washington football fans, and welcome to another edition of the Washington Wrap. I'm your host, Chad Ryan, and this is part two of a three-part series all released today where we are using the bye week to do some mid-season grades for the offense, the defense, and the coaching of the Washington football team as we storm through the 2021 season. This episode today is about the defense. Episode 1 was about the offense, and episode 3 will be about the coaching. Without any further ado, let's start the 10-minute clock because as a reminder, this is a 10-minute single-issue format show. So we're going to start the clock, bring in our co-hosts, Robbie Duncan and Felix Trammell, and get stuck into this defense because there is a lot to talk about with this defense who have not lived up to expectations, I think it's fair to say, and I think we'd all agree about for the 2021 season, for this very, very stacked on paper Washington football team defense. So I'm going to start with you, Robbie. Let me simply put it like this. How disappointed are you with the defense? Because I think I'm assuming here, and please jump in if you disagree, but I think it's fair to say most Washington football fans, most Washington football pundits don't think this defense has lived up to expectations.
That's putting it very mildly. It's just been bad. It's been awful. We can't get off the field on third down, no matter what the distance is. I don't know. We can't tackle. The play that sticks out that kind of encapsulates the whole season was what was it? Three guys right there on a swing pass that should have been a tackle right there. What game am I missing?
Kansas City game.
Kansas City. Yeah, we had it. And the guy just slipped through all three of us and got a first down for a very key conversion there. And it just, like, how do you let that happen? And we got DNs that were hyping themselves up before the season started, not guaranteeing it, but saying we're aiming for the single season record for a duo pass rushing group for breaking the sack record there, and they've got not even close to that. There's the bright stars on defense are very few right now. Jonathan Allen has come to play this year, and everybody else, not really. I mean, who else is making plays right now? Tim Settle, you could say he's making plays.
Cole Holcomb's doing well, I guess.
It's on paper, it should have been considered a top 3 defense. On paper, based on how they did last year, the expectations were valid. I mean, they played well, but I think what's really sobering when you look at it is it's been pointed out is all their dominance came from playing teams with bad quarterbacks and we're really dealing with injury problems at the time last year. I don't have all that in front of me, but maybe it was bad to begin with, and we just got lucky with facing bad teams at the right time. So it's just really confounding to think about what they should be doing, and they're not living up to that expectation. So it's all very bad right now.
So Felix, I see you nodding there along with Robbie and myself, so I'm going to assume that you sort of generally agree with everything that's just been said and sort of lead into a question following that. If that's true, if this defense is not performing up to expectations, if guys are nowhere near what we thought they'd be, where does responsibility lie for that? Is it with the players, the individuals? Is it with the unit coaches, like linebackers coach Steve Russ or DBs coach Chris Harris? Or is it with Jack Del Rio, the defensive coordinator? Or is it with Ron Rivera? Like, where are you sort of appropriating responsibility for the performance of this defense so far in 2021?
Blame starts with the players because they're the ones ultimately on the field who have to execute. So they get the blame. But you have to put people in places to succeed. And for the first 5 or 6 games, we were putting people in bad places and expecting greatness. And that's not going to work. We would have John Bostic trying to cover receivers 15 yards down the.
Oh, we might have lost Felix there. It's all right. We'll go to the 2 box for a second and just remove Felix for a second. 1 sec. There we go. There we go. Done. All right. So what Felix was saying is exactly right. Putting people in positions to succeed was definitely a point of weakness for this defense in the first couple of weeks. I was tweeting every game that guys were way out of position or, giving far too much cushion against wide receivers, or, the really frustrating ones that I know people out there hate, things like Chase Young dropping into coverage. Why? Like, you want him to do better at rushing the passer. That's not how he's going to get better. So,
Nope.
yeah, definitely agree with what Felix was saying there, and hopefully we can get him back in a minute, but that's fine. We'll get him into the next episode if we've lost him for this one.
And I'll piggyback off that too, real quick.
Yeah.
A great example is William Jackson. What he played with the Bengals was a press man. He's a strong man defender, and he did a lot of press. That's how he got his money. He was an aggressive man defender, and we got him playing off the ball and zone a lot, and it's just not his play strength. And we're trying to make them do things that they're not good at. And it's led to him being one of the worst corners in the NFL right now, according to PFF. His grade is awful. And then you got Jamin Davis, who, I get you're trying to make him be a Mike because he's got intangibles and that's sideline to sideline speed. But in the grand scheme of things, I think it's proving right now that he's more of a will linebacker, weak side linebacker to chase the ball, see ball, get ball, not with not as many responsibilities on his plate. Let someone else make the calls and let him just be an athlete and be a ball player. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So making these guys do something that they're not necessarily ready for or good enough or at that level yet, it doesn't quite make sense. It's not like preseason is, 4 or 5 games where you can really, get what I'm trying to say is like slowly take the training wheels off. We don't have that kind of time to afford that, Put them in their position to be most successful right away and then slowly integrate them into other things that you want them to do. Don't just say, here, boom, you're the Mike now, you're calling the defense as a rookie and kind of, up to this point before injuries happened, he was getting 5 or 6 snaps. It was a
very low snap count for some of these games.
They're not utilizing their players to their talents is what it seems like to me. And then on top of it is the D-line is not being as disruptive as we all expected them to be, especially the edge rushers. So I'm sure that's what Felix was getting to.
Yeah, I agreed. And look, I don't think we're getting Felix back for this episode, so that's fine. But I'll tell you, just on that real quickly, one example of putting a player in the position to succeed that has worked out is moving Landon Collins into the box. We've only got a small sample size for that, as Felix rejoins us. Welcome back, Felix. But Landon Collins to the box has been really, really good. So, as I said, only a small sample size, but we'll see how that looks, for the rest of the season. But the signs are good for that. So,
it's worth
my
mentioning
grade...
Too.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, jump in.
It's worth mentioning too that apparently he was on the trading block before the deadline.
Yeah.
So it's great that he's doing well at that position now, but it doesn't look like he's part of the long term in that role or going back to safety, let alone
potentially. Yeah.
Yeah.
So look, last thing we have to do is grade this unit, and myself and Robbie will go first, and then Felix, you jump in at the end. Assuming you're back now, so that's all good. I cannot give this defense a positive grade, and it's not just because of unrealistic expectations or anything like that. When you have the caliber of investment that the Washington football team has put into this defense, you've got 4, 5, 6 first-round picks in your front 7. You've got high-priced free agents like William Jackson and Landon Collins in your DBs. You need to be at the minimum, an average defense. And this team has not been playing as an average defense. They've been a poor defense. They have been a below average defense. So I cannot, at this point in the season, give this defensive unit as a whole a grade higher than a D. And even then, that feels a little soft. I think an argument can be made for a worse grade. I think an argument, and I'd be interested to hear, I think an argument can be made for a better grade. But Robbie, 30 seconds, your grade for this defensive unit.
I give it a D. They're just not good enough. D for defense.
D.
Not nearly good enough.
The D gets
and
a
I
D.
think they're a good case study for how you build a team. Do you really need to invest all those assets into a defense, or would it be more worth to build up your offense better and play opportunistic defense with a good offense?
Yeah. Felix, welcome back. Didn't miss much. You're all good. Your grade for the defense.
I think y'all hit it on the head. I would have failed them if it wasn't for the last couple games. I think the last couple games they've turned a corner because Jack Del Rio's put people in better positions. Like I heard you mentioning Landon Collins looking better in the box. That's where he needs to be, which allows Cam Curl to stay on the field. But I will give them a D because they just for the last two games. Otherwise, they would have failed with me because it's it was supposed to be the backbone of this team, and so far we don't look like we have a spine.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. This team lacks a spine, and the defense was meant to be the identity for this team, and it's not. It isn't. But look, we have hit the 10-minute time limit right there at the end. We've got within a couple of seconds of nailing it perfectly. So we'll take that. Sometimes the refs give you an extra second and don't call a delay a game when the clock ticks to 0. So we'll take that. Thank you for watching this. As I said at the top, this is part 2 of a 3-part series releasing today. The next episode we're going to record is about the coaching. That's going to be very interesting. So if you haven't checked out the first episode about the offense or the next episode about the coaching, they'll be online by the same time you're listening to this one as well. I'm Chad Ryan. Thank you, Robbie. Thank you, Felix, for joining me. Let's jump into the next one. And everyone out there, as I said before, you can find us on Twitter, you can find us on Facebook, you can find us on Instagram and YouTube and everywhere you get podcasts. Leave us comments, leave us ratings, leave us reviews, subscribe, like, whatever. Always helps us out. Thank you so much for listening or watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.